So AI-generated text is everywhere now, right? We've all had that moment of wondering, can we even tell the difference anymore between what a human wrote and what a machine did? The solution seems simple enough: AI writing detectors. But what happens when the judge itself is flawed? Let's get into it.
So, what do you think? Was that written by a human astrophysicist or a really sophisticated language model? It's getting harder and harder to tell, isn't it? This exact problem, this confusion, is why AI detectors were created in the first place. They were supposed to give us a clear, definitive answer.
Yeah, with AI writing just exploding onto the scene, we really needed a way to tell what's what. So we did what we always do. We built algorithms to be our digital detectives, hunting for the AI's fingerprints on a piece of text. And, on the surface, they seem to work. We hear stories all the time about these tools catching students or writers using AI. But that just begs the question, are these detectors actually accurate? Can we really truly trust their verdict? Okay, to figure that out, we've got to look under the hood and see what these detectors are really looking for. And this is where it gets interesting. They aren't searching for some kind of robot voice or a lack of emotion. Nope, they are laser-focused on one specific quality. And that one quality, it's called coherence. The best way to think about it is like a thread of logic. Perfect coherence is like a single, perfectly straight, unbroken thread, where every single point connects to the next in a super predictable way. And guess what? AI models are specifically trained to write exactly like that. You see, AI writing is built for that flawless linear flow. But our brains, they don't really work that way. Human thought is way more complex, less predictable. Our writing has twists and turns, and these creative jumps. That tangled thread of ideas is what makes it uniquely human. And that, right there, is the big problem. These detectors are judging our messy human writing against a standard of machine-like perfection. It's just not a fair fight. It's been compared to pitting a human hand against a super precise factory robot. I mean, the machine is almost always going to seem more perfect, and it turns out the exact same thing happens with writing. So here's the kicker. The detector's benchmark for good, non-AI writing is itself. It's looking for writing that mirrors its own perfectly structured nature. That means if you're a human writer who's really clear, really logical, and very well structured, you're actually at high risk of being misidentified. And you can imagine this leads to some pretty wild results. A really thoughtful, well-argued essay by a very skilled human can easily get flagged as 99% AI generated just because it's good. The writer's skill and clarity actually become the evidence against them. How crazy is that? But look, you don't have to take my word for this. This flaw is actually surprisingly easy to prove for yourself with just a couple of simple tests. Let me show you how. First off, you just have to realize that some kinds of human writing are naturally super coherent. I'm talking about things like academic papers, legal arguments, or even mathematical proofs. These fields pretty much require the kind of rigorous linear logic that AI detectors are trained to see as a machine's signature. Okay, so I've got two simple experiments you can run to see this whole thing in action. The first one uses a little bit of history, and the second one hones in on a very specific, very human style of writing. Okay, test number one, the historical test. Find any well-written article, essay, or even a historical document from before November 30th, 2022, the day ChatGPT was born. Now pop it into an AI detector. If it's a clear, coherent piece of writing, there's a really good chance it'll get flagged as AI generated, even though that's literally impossible. All right, for the second test, grab an excerpt from a scientific paper or some complex argument. I mean, this kind of writing has to be logical, building one step directly on top of the last, which makes its structure incredibly coherent. Run that through a detector, and again, you're probably going to see a high AI score for something that is purely the result of human brain power. So where does this leave us? Should we just throw these tools out entirely? Well, not necessarily. We just have to be smarter about what they're really telling us. There's this great analogy that just nails the logical mistake we're making here. Seeing perfectly coherent writing and assuming it must be AI is like seeing a spotless car and insisting it came from a car wash. You're completely ignoring the possibility that the owner is just really, really diligent. So, if you remember one thing from all this, make it this. An AI detector isn't really a "did you cheat" detector. It's a coherence meter. It just measures how structured and linear a piece of writing is. Now, that can be a useful piece of information, but it is absolutely not proof of who or what did the writing. And really, this all points to a much bigger question for all of us. AI tools are weaving their way into every part of our lives, making decisions in everything from who gets hired to our healthcare. I mean, if we can so easily misunderstand a simple writing detector, what other more powerful AI tools are we trusting without really understanding how they work? It's definitely something to think about.